Time to craft with hands-on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's back to basics on this 10th anniversary series of Hands-On. Each show has a basic theme like patterns or letters, plus a basic how-to lesson on your favorite craft or craft material, like scrapbooking or clay or even wood. Each show also includes another basic, a painting lesson, from choosing paint to preparing your surface. At the end of the next 13 shows, you'll know everything about painting and be on your way to becoming an artist. So on each show, you can look forward to a basic theme, lots of projects, each with 5 steps and 5 ingredients. Keep basic supplies like scissors, markers, toothpicks, and rulers on hand. Remember, be creative and get back to basics with Hands-On. Hi, I'm Kathy Stull, and this is Hands-On, and it's time to get started, because time is our theme. Time can be measured in seconds, minutes, hours, or days. It can even be weeks, years, decades, and on. But we decided to concentrate on the measurement of time. First, time can seem so long. How many days until the party? Or until my birthday? We've got a chart to make the days fly by. Then it's today's basic. Kathleen Sams returns with the basics of crochet. Then it's a painting lesson with Prudy and shading and highlighting to create depth. Then Kathleen is back with a feature project using yarn to crochet. Last up, a time program wouldn't be complete without a clock. So let's not waste a minute. How many days until your birthday? This chart will help you keep track. Let me tell you what you're going to need. First, we have different colors of 12 by 12 cardstock. I also have a foam core board, some school glue in a gel form, carbon paper or transfer paper, some number stickers, glitter, paint pens, and then we have some glue dots. For basics, we've got scissors, ruler, pencil, and I already mentioned our glue stick. So let's get started. Oh, and don't forget your candy. So the first thing we want to do is to take our orange sheet of paper, which is 12 by 12, and cut a 3-inch strip off the top. So I've used my ruler. I'm going to measure 3 inches down, mark it with my pencil, and then cut a strip off, which I've already done here. Cut this off. I'm going to take my glue stick. It goes on purple, but it's going to dry clear. So I've attached that onto the top. Now the next thing is I want to attach it to my foam core board. It's a good idea to have an adult help you cut this because it's really easier to cut with a craft stick, or a craft knife, than it is to cut with scissors to get a nice smooth edge. I'm going to just do this quickly so we've got some glue, but you do be a little bit more careful at home. So I've got my board, I've got my green paper down and my orange strip. Now we want to put a heading on the top that says how many days. Close up my glue stick here. Now to do that, you can take our pattern, which is on the website, or you could print this out from your computer. I've added my graphite paper behind it. I'm going to lay it on the extra orange paper and just trace it out. And if you can see here, then it's transferred to the bottom. Now I'm going to color in these letters, and I've chosen paint markers. And you would just take your marker and color in each letter, alternating the colors. I've started out with red, but you can start out with whatever you'd like, and you get a nice, real bright, deep color. And you can see here I've written those out, and I've cut my words apart. The next thing is to glue your words on the top so it says how many days. Now we want to add the words till my birthday, so I'm going to turn this to me so I can see. And I'll write in till my birthday. And put a question mark. Okay, now we're ready to write how many days, and we've chosen 15 to fit on. So what I've done is taken my extra orange paper, I've cut it into squares, and these squares are about 1.5 inches, and I've cut 15 orange squares. Then I've cut these out of my pattern paper, and these are 2 inches. Let me turn that to you. So 2-inch squares. So I have 15 in the orange and 15 in the striped paper. Then I'm going to take my stickers and layer it. So sticker number 1 will be layered on my orange. Then I'll take my glue stick and put some glue on the back and attach it to my pattern paper. And I've got all my pattern paper, which is a stripe, going in one direction. So I'd line this up. A good thing it would be to do all your numbers first, do 5 in each row, use your ruler, and then glue them down. So I'd continue doing that and continue adding all the way across until I've written all my numbers. And then I'd be at this point. So now I have all my stickers on, and you can see I started from 15 and go down to 1 day left. So we want to make that 1 day very special. So I'm going to take some glitter glue, and it comes right with its own brush, and I'm going to put that right over that first number. I'm going to go all the way onto the orange so that we know that's a really special day. Now when I'm counting on the days, there has to be some incentive or some special thing that you get each day. So I'm going to add some candy. And the way I'm going to add that is I'm going to take some glue dots. The easiest way is to take, that you can see they're very light to see, or very hard to see. Take that, attach it to the back piece of the candy, and then put 1 piece of candy on each thing. And we go all the way across until there's 15 pieces of candy. Now if we take a look at our finished project, now you'll always know how many days it is until that special day. Guess who's back? Kathleen Sams, and today she's going to teach us how to crochet. This is going to be so much fun.
Oh, this is. Now you're going to have to learn the basics first of the tools that you're going to need. So I'm going to cover real quickly. We need to have crochet hooks, and here's just a variety. Some of them are in fun colors, some of them are crystal clear. So they'll make a lot of fun.
Different sizes?
Well, they're all the same size. They're just different colors because they're, you know, this is an aluminum, this is acrylic. So there's different. These are actually some that were made specifically for kids.
Okay.
So they're different colors, and they come in packages where they're different color coded for the different sizing.
Okay.
And this is a size I hook that I'm actually using for this type of yarn.
Okay.
And then you're also going to need your needles, and here's some packaged, and this is for your sewing. And then your knit check, which this is where you can check the sizing of your hooks, or you can also check your gauge when you're measuring your piece. And then, of course, the yarn, and a tape measure to measure your final project. Okay. But then the yarn, of course, is the most important. I like to use an acrylic worsted weight yarn, and this is a number 4 yarn, and I'll show you real quickly. The numbers are on the skeins now, on the label, so you can identify what they are. And the reason I say I like to use the acrylic, it's a good way, it's easy to take care of. You can wash it, it's a perfect yarn, yes, it's a perfect yarn for kids to make projects and use them.
And your pattern will tell you what size yarn to use.
Exactly. It'll tell you what size yarn and what size hook to use. The other great thing about these skeins, you can get several projects out of these too, which is really fun. And it also shows on here how it's easy pull yarn. You just pull the little tail.
You don't have to wind it.
You don't have to unwind it. Now sometimes there may be a little piece on this end, but you just pull that out and then you pull from your right side. Okay. So now to get started. All right. We're going to make a slip knot. Now I'm going to pick up my aluminum hook. I like using this one. We're going to make a slip knot, and I like to keep at least about a 6-inch tail. You don't want to leave it right at the very end. You want something to hold on to. And again, a slip knot is you just make a little knot and put that on your hook.
Okay, so you're just putting it through the loop.
Just put it through the loop. So you're just going to make yourself a loop. Okay. All right. Now, to crochet, I like to hold this in my fingers like this and kind of let it just slide through, because you don't want to pull too tight. And that's something that as you learn to do this, you're going to destroy the construction of your yarn. So you want to keep it fairly loose.
So that's your tension.
That's your tension, exactly. Now, to do your chaining is what you're going to start out with. That's the foundation for any fabric that you're making in crochet. You're going to keep your yarn to the back of your hook. You see how I've got my hook with the head right here facing toward me. We're going to wrap the yarn around that hook and pull it through the loop. That's a chain.
That's just one,
that's
a single chain.
A single chain. Here we go. So we're wrapping the yarn around the hook, pull it through the loop, and your instructions will tell you how many chains that you're going to need for whatever your pattern is. So when you get to that...
This is a silly question. Is this the width or the length?
Well, it depends on what your instructions say.
The instructions will tell you. Okay.
The instructions will tell you. Sometimes you may be doing it by the width, sometimes it may be by the length. It just depends on what the item is. Now, what we're going to do now is learn to do a single crochet. Now once you've done your chain, you're going to skip, and can you see these right here? If I can point these out, You need to learn to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see how they're like little chains?
So you're counting just like the little hole in the center.
The little holes, and we call them chains because they do kind of look like a chain, all right? You're going to insert your hook into the second chain down from your hook.
Okay, not the first,
all right,
the
not
second.
the first one. This is on a single crochet.
Okay.
Insert your hook all the way through. Again, your yarn is to the back. You wrap that around and pull it through. And see, now I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over from the back and pull it through those 2 loops.
Through both of them.
That is a single crochet.
Okay,
now let me do it again.
Time.
We're going to insert the hook from the front to the back through the chain.
Do I go 2 down or 1?
No, you go to the very next one. Yes, the very next chain. We're going to insert our hook, grab that yarn and just pull it through. And you see how I did that? The yarn is always here. Always make sure you're coming over like this and pulling it through. You've got your loop. Again, always keeping your yarn to the back. Yarn over, pull it through both loops.
Pull it through both loops, okay.
So your single crochet is actually, and it's like making knots if you think about it. So we're going to insert it, and it just becomes a motion. After, so insert, yarn through, 2 loops over, see?
Okay, so the only time you go through that second hole is on that very first one at the beginning of the row.
At the very beginning, yes. And then you do every chain all the way across, and I want to get across to the end of the row. And then when you get to the very end on your last chain, and again, this is why you need to count to make sure, because sometimes until you get used to your tension, you could be a little too tight and miss this last chain. Always make sure you pick that up. Now, when we get across the row and your instructions say turn, just flip the piece around like this. And we're going to work, and then you do a chain 1 at the very beginning of your row. Then you're going to go into your actual stitch. Can you see here how our stitches have created chains going across the top? Now these are actual stitches now. So what
we're going into the chain because we're on the second row.
Exactly. And you can see here we're going to insert our hook right through that stitch. You see where there's holes right here? This has created stitches. So we're going to insert our hook through there, making sure you're picking up both of those loops. Again, yarn over, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull it off. And there we go. You're crocheting. You're doing a single crochet now. And you just keep going back and forth like this for single crochets.
Okay, now you're going to come back later in the show.
I'm going to come back and show you some fun projects you can make just from learning how to do this.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen.
This lesson is all about shading and highlighting. Exactly what is shading and highlighting and why do we need it? Well, shading and highlighting gives form to objects and paintings, and it also shows us that there's a light source. If you look at these 2 samples, this is a blue dot on a tan backboard. This dot has been shaded on the dark side with darker blue paint and on the light side with lighter blue paint. You see how it creates volume, and with the shadow added, it adds even more. I have a simple leaf on this board, and I'm going to show you how it can add some character to the piece also. I'm going to shade it first with a darker green, using a big brush. I'll apply paint to the shadowed side. I'm going to make this end the shadow side, the stem end. It's going to look sort of like it's coming out at you when I'm finished. Add quite a bit of paint to get that dark color on there. And on the other end, I can add a highlight color, which is a lighter green. Put that right in here. Oh my, that just shows up so nicely. I want to blend that color in a little bit. I can even add a little bend in the leaf with the shade color. I'm going to come in like this. Adds even more character to do that. Little fold. And I want to blend this paint out a little bit. If I want to really sharpen the edge, I use one more little lighter color. If this were flipped over, the edge would be catching some light, so I can emphasize it, and I can emphasize a little down here. I can even add some little crooked edges in the leaf with my highlight color. and a point. Can you tell what a difference it's starting to make? The last thing I might do to this is put in a shadow of a vein. And I've gone from a plain leaf to one with some character. All done with shading and highlighting. And that's your lesson about shading and highlighting today.
Kathleen Sams is back from Coats & Clark, and now that we learned how to crochet, we're going to learn how to make things from that one single crochet stitch.
That's right.
Okay, what are we starting
First
with?
thing we're going to start with is a scarf. And you just make a long rectangle, and you're good to go.
About how many stitches on that teal one is that across?
This one, right, this one's done across, so we've got like 12 stitches on this one. So, and that you can see here, I think this is about a 4-foot length. And depending on what you like, I myself like to make them about 60 inches, which is 5 foot. So you can make them any length you want, long, short, whatever. By using one of these large skeins of yarn, you can get at least 3 scarves.
3 scarves
out
of
one of those skeins, yes. Okay. Now, if you're using one of the prints, there's not as much yarn in the print. They're a little bit, about an ounce lighter. Okay. So you may only get 2 of them, but again, it depends on what size you're making. So,
well, like on that red and gray, how did you get the striping?
All right, now that's a lot of fun. That's actually a self-striping yarn, and what it does is it's actually developed to where it creates its own stripe and almost a Fair Isle pattern. So depending on,
change colors
I didn't change colors or anything. So you can get really creative with these fun new yarns like this.
Okay, now you have a really fun project. We saw this on knitting. Show me on crochet.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to let's go to these, and then I'm going to show you how to put them together. What I have developed here is fingerless gloves, and not only kids, adults love these too. I mean, I actually have to make myself a couple of pair of these. Yours now have a hole in them, so I want you to put them on and show you. Just stick your thumb through there, and again, it's making just a small square or a rectangle. I sewed the whole seam up on this, and you can just slide it like this over your thumb without sticking it, and make arm warmers.
These
and you can just make them longer and bring them all the way up your arm, or like this. And again, you can make them any length you want. Just measure the length.
Your fingers are free, so you can hold things. You can catch a ball.
Exactly. And these are great for girls or boys. I have grandsons, and 2 of them play outside, climb trees, play ball, and they each had to have the set. I mean, this is the most fun. So what we do on those is what you see right here. This is just a square or a rectangle, again, depending on, the length or the size you want. We're going to fold it over. We're looking at the right side. You just fold it over, and you're going to stitch by stitch match. You see here? Right here is a stitch.
So you're matching the chains.
You're matching this change, and you're just going to, like this, sew it together, whip stitching it. Just
so you don't
like
have to turn it inside out because your stitches won't even show.
Your stitches won't even show, and you can either stitch the whole thing up like this or stitch it up however length, whatever length you want on your wrist. Leave an inch opening for your thumb, and then stitch the upper portion. And that's all there is to it.
Now, what about on these? You mentioned yarns that have multiple colors, but this is like a little different look.
That's a little different than the striping one. This is a print, so there's a lot of different colors together, and they just create their own fun pattern. Isn't that great?
That's cute. It doesn't even look like the same stitch.
It doesn't, I know, and that's the fun thing. It's like it creates its own, and you never know what colors you're going to get together when you start working them like this.
Okay.
The other thing that I did here, now these are belts, and again, this is all the same stitches. It's a chain stitch and a single crochet, and we've developed all of these things just based on the number that you're using. These 2 pieces are identical. One's done with the striping yarn, the other I did with a solid, and I took one of the striping yarns and actually wove through the chains.
It's just going through the holes.
So if you will look, if you can see here real quickly, as we're developing these patterns, I said there's chain ones and single crochet. And in the patterns that I've offered on these, we have the little chains right here. You can see the chain holes. So what I've done is taken a needle and just woven the yarn through there.
It's not even crocheted, it's just
not
woven
even
through.
crochet. Yeah, you can leave that out, but I thought that made it a little bit of fun. Left some fringe out. You can use this as a scarf. You can use this as a belt.
That'd be great.
They're a lot of fun. You can do
you
so
can
much
make
with
it any
these.
size. That would be
any size
cute.
you want.
Okay, one last one.
One last piece. This is a shrug.
So it's like a sweater.
It's like a sweater, and there's really no shaping to this one either. And what you're going to do is make Now this piece right here, so you're aware, this was made out of 2 balls of this striping yarn because there's not as much in it as there is one of these larger ones. So
these are your arms.
These are your arms. And here's your opening, and that's
coming around your neck, and that's coming in the back.
And this right here is a piece that has been made out of one of these large skeins, so you can see how large it is. So the sleeves are going to be a little longer.
Right.
All you're going to do on this, fold it over, leave like an 18 to a 20-inch opening for the center to insert your arms, sew it up from the sleeves, you're good to go.
Kathleen, this is so much fun. Thank you
Have
so
fun.
much. A show on time wouldn't be complete without a clock, and this is a great one. We've painted the surface, and then we've added letters all the way around. So let me show you what you'll need. We're actually starting out with a kit, and all the materials are inside. Your transfer paper, your clock face, your clock movement, and the other part here, patterns for the design, markers, and then you'll need some basics. We have a wood sealer, wood paint, our brushes or our sponge brushes, scissors, and a pencil, and of course, let's not forget this beautiful wood clock face. Now the first thing that we want to do is to seal our wood. So I've taken my sponge brush and put some out, and what sealing does is it makes the paint adhere more smoothly. And you can see this paint doesn't need any other prepping. We don't have to sand it or use a tack cloth on it. It's already perfect. And you would go around with your sealer all the way around the top and the sides. That'll help your paint adhere. Now, in the interest of time, now you would let that dry, but I'm going to go right back over with my white paint. And I've chosen white for my paint. Now I'm going along the grain of the wood, using my sponge brush and taking nice long strokes. You can always come back and do a second coat, but you don't want to put too much paint on at any time when you're painting on a wood surface. So I'd come across, and I'm going to paint across the entire surface. And you can see the hole for the clock movement is already pre-drilled in the center. Now, I'd let this dry, touch up any parts that I need to go over, and then I would catch the outside edge. But I have one that's already painted. Now, the next thing I want to do is choose my pattern. There's all different patterns. You can do letters, there's kites, an American flag design, or maybe some butterflies. But I chose the letters. So I cut out that pattern. I'm going to lay my carbon paper or my transfer paper down, and I've started to do that. And I'm just going to randomly put some letters on. And I'm taking my pencil, and I'm going to trace around the letter. It's important not to rest your hand too heavily on the carbon paper underneath because you're going to get the imprint of your hand. So I've laid down the A. Now I'm going to see, where do I want to put the next letter? I think I'm going to put an S here. Now you can see I'm not exactly following the pattern because I added some of the letters ahead of time. So if I would lay this down in the center, I would continue to put letters all the way around, and they'll come to just about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Now the next thing is we want to color in our letters. So I'm going to go back in with the markers that are included in the kit and color in the letters. You can color in any color you'd like. I like the multicolor look on this design because it has different letters on it. The other thing that I found that was good to do was to go back after I've colored in a letter and take a black marker and go over the edge of each of the letters. It really made them stand out well. So we continue coloring each one of the letters in with a different color. And you can see we do part of letters on the side. Okay, then once you've got all your letters done, then you want to let this dry, make sure it's really nice and dry, and then you're going to put another coat of sealer over this entire and let that dry overnight. Now the next step is to put your clock movement on. The clock movement, the face comes right in here and it's on a sticker. We're going to lay that in the center. Don't worry if it covers up some of your letters. Lay that down and attach that on. And then we want to put our movement on. Okay, the movement, this goes to the back of the clock and slide that through the hole. So I have to put my washer on first so it doesn't rub. And then the best idea is to follow the instructions on the back so that you put your movement on exactly right. And don't forget to add your batteries as well. So that will give you your hands and your second hands and the other pieces of your clock movement. So let's take a look at the finished clock. As you can see, I've painted each of the letters, but I've also added that black edging around it, which I think really makes it stand out. And now you'll always know what time it is. It's time to end this show. We've got just a second to tell you about our next program, where we'll feature paper collage. So don't be late for the next Hands-On.
Projects and ideas for today's show are available on the web at craftsforkids.com. This show is number 1008. Hands-On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com.